This is going to be a workshop, so as promised, you're going to get your hands dirty. How many people brought resumes with them? Looks like a lot. Outstanding. So please have them out. Also, grab yourself something else to write on, notebook, etc. So I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things as we go. And one of the things I'm going to ask you to commit to is to be a little interactive. I'm going to ask some questions and ask you to just kind of shout them out and help each other out. Okay? I know that's not going to be always the most comfortable for everybody. I know not everybody likes to do things like hop up on stage or go introduce themselves to strangers, but I'm going to ask you to kind of push yourself within the reasons and the boundaries of your comfort zones to kind of dive in a little bit, have a little bit of faith. So, why am I here? Plain and simple, I'm here because there is evil out there that is actively working to dismantle a lot of the hard work that we do and really attack ways of life that we find important. And I think sometimes we forget, hey, it's a career, it's a job, we're doing a bunch of different things, but evil exists out there. And you've heard, I think, almost everybody today say, we need help. We desperately need help. That's part of why I'm here. Evil's out there, we need help, okay? My happy place is solving problems, pushing back against evil by bringing together diverse, passionate people and making sure that they have sleep and hugs and pizza. So, just a little bit of background about me. As we're gonna do a little bit of a resume glow up, I wanna just, full candor, I hate job hunting. So it is my least favorite thing, primarily because right now it's an adversarial process, and I really don't think that it should be. I think when we're looking to say, hey, bring us help, please come join what we're doing, it shouldn't be an adversarial process, it should be a little more welcoming, it should be a little more engaging. So my least favorite part of that, anybody want to guess? Resume. So resume is tough. Why? Because we're trying to put all of this information together in one static document that's supposed to represent us, and then throw that out into the universe, and then hopefully get that to open a door for us. That's really, really hard to do for anybody. So instead of, for the workshop, sharing a resume, I'm going to share with you my unresume. These are all the jobs that I've had in my life that I've gotten paid for outside of IT and security, okay, at different points in different times, okay? Why am I here? It's because you're here. Why am I here? Because I've been a hiring manager. I've built teams, I've interviewed people. I actively right now am helping people interview for roles from varying layoffs, varying changes, helping them interview, prepare, dive in, using the methodology that I'm going to kind of lay out for you, okay? I've lived and worked in all of these roles. Anybody want to guess, just ballpark, how many of these roles I use today leading a customer success security team? The skills from these roles. All of them, absolutely. So when we start thinking about skills, and people have kind of alluded to it today, and I want you to start thinking about things a little bit differently. This isn't a workshop to create a resume that's a static document that you're gonna use. This is a step in that journey, okay? This is a journey that began further back and is gonna continue further on. But I'm gonna help you provide some structure around that, hopefully, okay? But I'm gonna have to ask for some commitment, okay? And the first commitment I'm gonna ask you to make is the same commitment that I ask my teams to do, is that we are here to help each other improve, okay? I think you've also heard again today, over and over again, that nobody knows everything. The field is so broad that no one could possibly know everything, but we are all committed to constant learning, constantly evolving, constantly working to get better. Why is that important? Other than being a good thing for human beings. Thinking about information security, cybersecurity, Why is that important that we commit to evolving? Anybody? World changes every day, and even more so, what changes every day? Sorry? Tactics change. Who's changing the tactics? Adversaries. Are our adversaries malware? No. Who are our adversaries? People, human beings. So when we start thinking about, well, what are the skill sets and all of that? And it kind of came up a little bit, and there's always kind of that debate, is social engineering really hacking? Are people part of what we need to consider in information security? I lean very heavily, and you'll see this, on human beings, for me, are the most interesting piece. Human beings touch everything. Human beings write most of the code or write the programs that are writing most of the code. So we have to know, at least, and be engaged with the human beings. Well, how do you match human beings with human beings? That's why I'm here. I hope that's part of why you're here. So that commitment to be open, be vulnerable, be willing to say, hey, we don't know, and be there to support each other is what I'm going to ask of you. Okay? This is where I'm going to ask you to step out of your comfort zone. So whatever your comfort level, I'd like you, we're later in the day, stand up, sit back, wherever you can vocalize well. Please do this now. Stand, no? Okay, at home, same kind of thing. I'd like you, okay, to change the beginning of this, and I want you to say out loud with me, I belong here. Okay, let's try a little more. That was great. A little more. I belong here.
I belong here.
Excellent. Phenomenal. Those of you playing along at home, it's great. You've probably seen you belong here several times today, and that is true. Now, my experience has value. And dig down for me. My experience has value. Phenomenal. Now, we call this an affirmation. Okay, why is this important? Okay, this is important because this process, in some ways, and in little ways, the industry we're in, sometimes really kind of sucks. Okay, this is a grind. So, job hunting is a grind. So there is rejection involved. There is inspection involved. There's lots of things that are going to tear you down. So before we dive into this workshop, and before you continue on your path, find a way every day in little ways to remind yourself that you belong here. There's a need for you, and you're bringing something without doing anything other than being you. You're bringing something to it, and your experience matters. Okay? Now, this is what I'm going to really ask you to stretch. I want you to look around the room and identify somebody else. Okay? You don't have to lock eyes, whatever your comfort level is. So look in their direction, look at the camera, whatever. And I want you to say exactly what I've got up here. You belong here. You belong here. Say it again. Come on. Excellent. And I want you to say, your experience matters. Phenomenal. What did you just do? So we've affirmed each other, we've affirmed ourselves, we've affirmed each other, and you started building your community. You're now relying on each other, which is exactly where we need to be, because the only way that we can actually effectively push back against evil and accomplish our goals is to work and thrive as a community. So I'm proud of you. That's phenomenal. So you've all now stood up and spoken at a con. So, good job. All right. So, thank you for doing that. I know that was kind of difficult. So, when we start thinking about resumes, when I started thinking about how do you provide a workshop, and in many cases, and these are great, you get to sit down and run through with everybody, and I wish I had that time, and I wish I had resources to have somebody sit down with everybody and run through your work, your individual resume. But In order to do a workshop at scale, thinking, let's think about how we're framing this, okay? When you're building a resume, are you looking for a job? Are you looking for a career? Looking for a career, excellent. Are you looking for a career or are you looking for an outcome? Do you have a vision in mind? Why do we work? We work to pay our bills, we work to achieve certain things, we work to continue a journey, right? I want you to think about this process, this workshop, as we focus on resume, as more of a conversation, more of a part of a journey, okay? And I want you to think about that conversation as your resume is what? Your opening into the conversation. What's the job description? The potential employer's opening into that conversation. They're telling you a lot about them in that job description. And what's interesting to me, again, is in their communication about that job description, they're telling you not only what they're looking for, but they're telling you who they are, what their culture is, what they're willing to do to bring your value to the table, okay? Again, it shouldn't be an adversarial process, but they should be telling you the same kind of things that you should be telling them in the resume, if we think about it like a conversation, okay? They're also telling us a lot about the company itself, and I'm going to show you why that's going to be important as we kind of dive in. So, step one, and this is going to be hard, and I love some of the tools that we saw earlier. So I'm going to ask you to use those tools, but I'm also going to ask you to do some of this work, okay, as we go. And this is going to be hard because one of the hardest things we can do as human beings is we have to look at ourselves and reflect on ourselves. I want you to think about, in all of your experiences, okay, what you loved and you didn't love about those roles. What made you excited to go to work every day? What made you unhappy with how you worked? What motivates and drives you? You know, was it a bonus? Was it a pat in the back? Was it some internal company award? You know, what really was the motivator and the driver for you? So, what made you thrive? What did you bring to the table? If you sat there and you hear from other people, and I think somebody called it out, the comments from colleagues, you know, give me feedback, give me things about, you know, what I'm bringing to the table. Think about for yourself, what did you bring to the table that you were most proud of? And where do you want to go? This is a little bit of a challenge. A lot of times I'll ask people in interviewing, you know, where do you see yourself? And this is a pretty stock question. Where do you see yourself? And what do you think most of the time people's answers will be in at least junior positions? What's their answer going to be? Say management, they'll throw out a job role. You know, in a lot of cases, if you meet somebody socially and you say, hey, who are you? What do people tell you? Your job. Is that who you are? No. So who are you? When I ask you, where do you want to go? Okay, I'm going to give you just a little quick exercise to think about this. I want you to imagine that I'm going to ask you to write down what you want to wear on March 15th. Okay, you already probably started picturing this in your head, but I want you to figure out what you want to wear on March 15th, 2033. Do you know where you're going to be? Time zone, climate? If you picked out an outfit today for 2033 and it showed up on that day and that's what you had to wear, would you be comfortable? Now, start thinking about where you want to go and think about it in other ways. Don't think about a job description, but think about the quality of life that you have. Man, I love working remotely. I really thrived when I could be home and make lunch for my kid, where I could walk my dog, I got to travel as a role. I love being part of a team. I hate being part of a team. All of those things. Those things, as you think about, hey, what does my day look like down the road? They're going to flesh out for you what you should be looking for. Hopefully that's starting to make some connections. And then what requirements would be a good and bad fit? I love where I live and I don't want to move. So I can't work 60 hours a week. Okay? Making sense? All right, so I'm going to ask you to take a couple of minutes and we're going to move through this just so we have time and then we'll workshop it a little bit later. But this is step one, okay? And the easy way I'm going to do this is I'm going to ask you to reflect, think about those things, and come back with an elevator pitch, okay? Everybody know what an elevator pitch is? I think we covered it a couple of times. I know it's somewhat archaic, and I really wish I had a better term for it, and if you've got one, give it to me later. I will absolutely attribute you. Elevator pitch. And we're going to use this. So this is going to be your deliverable number one, especially for social, for people that are here, for folks that are online. I'm going to ask you, if you want, to take that elevator pitch and drop it to me in Slack later on. But give me 1 or 2 sentences about who you are. Okay? Not the job that you do, but who you are, based on some of that self-reflection. Okay? Questions? All right. The key to an elevator pitch, and part of why they call it an elevator pitch, is you only have a little bit of time to deliver it. Okay? And it shouldn't be exceptionally long. Okay? You heard mine. So, push back against evil. I like working with teams. I like passion and diversity. Right? Pizza. There you go. So there's the first elevator pitch. It's important for you to do the reflection, and that's going to change. And I encourage you to make that reflection part of your day-to-day, because that's going to change over time. And that's going to be one of those indicators to tell you, hey, maybe it's time for me to move on in a role. Maybe it's time for another challenge or something new. So this is where we get to do some fun security stuff. So we talked a little bit before, and InfoSec Sherpa was talking a little bit about OSINT, open source intelligence. So anybody do in day-to-day any OSINT? Outstanding. Has anybody, okay, let me ask you this. Has anybody looked up someone that they used to go to school with to see where their life ended up? Anybody? Outstanding. You've done that, you've done OSINT. You've done some open source research. Open source research is basically to say, I'm out there and I'm looking to see what's available on the open internet about something. Well, there's a tremendous amount of information out there on companies. LinkedIn is a great resource for this, but there's a ton of other places. I'm going to provide you some links in LinkedIn later for some good OSINT resources. I'm going to give you a bunch of other resources because I am by no means the smartest person in any room that I am in, and there are some absolute titans that have done lots of work on resume, interview, et cetera. I'm going to share those with you later on. So, do the open source inserts. Why is this important? Because I want to be able to look at the job description and see if the potential employer is really who they say they are. They say, hey, we have a thriving, diverse culture, and you look at the website and you go, you don't seem to be. You know, oh, we value development for employees, and they don't do a whole lot. We're highly engaged in the community, and they're not there. You'll be able to see it. Why is that going to be important? So it's going to be important because, especially new to cyber or reskilling and coming in, you're going to be looking for organizations that have you in mind. That you're not just going to come in and be a cog in the machine, that you're going to be able to continue your journey. Okay? And that they're going to allow you and help you figure that out. Okay? You also want to make sure that what they're selling you in the job description isn't a bunch of hokum. Okay? word of caution here. So there is a mindset in InfoSec that says grind culture is how we live and die. Give up everything in your life for the next 3-4 years, knock out a bunch of certifications, do nothing else, and you'll get in and be able to build on it. Well, what happens when you've done that? Now you've got a job. How do you build from there? You haven't built a foundation. You haven't built a practice. You haven't really built a journey. It's like, oh, you've sacrificed everything else. And in most cases, what have you done? You've cut out the things that help you thrive, that drive you, that make life worth living, your support structures. So just common sense says that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you grind? Now, I'm not saying you don't have to do the work. There's a lot of work, and there's always opportunity to continue. But you want to look at the outside, look in, look at the job description, and start going, hey, is this a good fit for me? Now, this is not to say I don't look at the qualifications and the requirements they've got and then exclude yourself. That's a different thing. We're going to come back to that. What I want you to look for is look for a place that you can potentially thrive. Then I want you to take your resume in hand. Everybody's got theirs. And I want you to do two things. First thing I want you to do is I want you to take your elevator pitch. Okay? This will help if you write it down. And I want you to look at the elevator pitch, and I want you to look at your resume and say, is the person that I am in my elevator pitch the person that is reflected in my resume? Do I see that person there? And is that person up top? There's a lot of debate around, that top section, the summary, et cetera. I'm not going to get into that. Formatting is important. So I think April covered before. Clean formatting, it's going to help you with the applicant tracking system, ATS. Clean formatting is good, but I love that summary up top, especially for people that are new, because it gives me a real quick just feel for who you are, especially as I'm working and trying to bring people in together in teams. Does that resume reflect that? Second piece, look at the job description and see if it maps. So by now you figured out that it's impossible to create one document that's going to meet every job description. So this is the unfortunate reality. But be thankful you are not living in an age where you type on a typewriter and have to use, okay? You can edit, map those skills. Look at that and use it as two things. One, again, you're doing some work. You're already doing the work. You're already building a practice of doing what? A little bit of security stuff, looking at the insides of something, how it works, right? And see what maps. What key skills are they looking for? And go, oh, yeah, I do this, I don't do this. So what transferable skills are there? Transferable skills, and lots of good conversations here. If you've worked in almost any field, there's a transferable skill that you have. You may not know what the skill on the other side is, I think is more of the challenge. You know what you've done. You know your field's better than some people do. It's making them understand what that means in their world. So what does customer relations look like in information security? What does patient care look like in customer security? What does being able to run a catering hall look like for information security? And you'll start finding them. How do you start getting that language, picking up the lingo? Again, part of social engineering. Start looking at the job descriptions. When you find something you don't know, what do? Look it up. Oh, what's this NPS thing? What the heck is AWS? What are all these acronyms that everybody uses? You know what? Make a list, go look them up. Oh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, don't apply to that job. So look for those keywords. Identify those keywords, keep a list, dig in, and do what? When you find those transferable skills, when you find those things and you go, man, I do that all the time, bring them up top. Find a way to bring them up top, okay? So, is it in your elevator pitch, your little bit of profile? What are those keywords? Highlight it. Here's the thing, and this is one I'm pretty passionate about, I guess. It's okay to ask for help. You already asked for help. You signed up for a conference, you're here, you've had conversations with people, you are receptive to hearing, how do I do this? That's awesome. Look for those connections. When you're doing OSINT, one of the easiest way, and if you haven't picked it up yet today, what's one of the easiest ways to find a new role? Network. Know somebody there. Yeah. Look for those connections. Again, LinkedIn's great for this. So, but there's other stuff. There are other organizations, there are other connections. You know, before I go and sit down and take a customer meeting, what am I doing? I'm looking to see what are their backgrounds. What do they do? Where do we, what do we have in common? Look for those connections. Build and use that network. If you walk out of here with 3 contacts, you're doing good. I would go for more, but 3 are good. And I'll tell you how I know it works. So I did a talk at a conference in New York that I got some great feedback from Lorinda, who's busily teaching DFIR. So, who then introduced me to Jennifer, who then said, hey, loved our conversation, let's go here. It works, those connections. So, and use that network not only to help yourself, but help others. Build those connections, build that network. So when things go sideways, and we have these very large, publicly disclosed breaches and events, do you think everybody just kind of works in their own silos? No, there's back-channel communication. One of the things I love is CISA under Jen Easterly has been doing a lot about community and transparency. And it's about time. It's less than a decade ago, people didn't talk about incident response and breach. We've gotten past that. Why? Because it matters. So engage. You've heard about it today. Get out there and sign up for stuff. Go to conferences, B-sides, community groups, other folks that are doing other interesting things. Again, as you're doing that open source research and you go, wow, that project really sounds neat, let me engage. Go after it. What are you doing? You're not only working on getting your stuff, your experience built, which is great, that practice, that constant growing and knowing and evolving, but you're building that network, you're forming that network up, and you're getting stuff that you can put on your resume. So, I'm a member of this, participate here, increases your chances, okay? And then ask for feedback, commit to feedback. Feedback is a gift, so sometimes it's difficult to hear, and sometimes people don't know how to give it very well. So, but again, remember the commitment in the beginning. We're here to help each other out. Before you leave tonight, I want you to give that elevator pitch to somebody, show them your resume, ask for some feedback, even if they're not in a role. Okay, we're gonna have folks, some of the presenters, myself, a bunch of other folks that are going to try to help you out, try to find people, connect with them, ask them for the same, get that feedback, and then do something with it. And then ask for help. This is a big one for me. So, asking for help is a sign of what? Humility? Absolutely. For me, humility, curiosity. It takes a lot of confidence to put yourself out there and ask for help, right? And integrity. So integrity says, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know everything. And I'm going to be comfortable with saying, I don't know something, and ask. Ask. I mean, there are some times where it's not going to be appropriate to be like, hey, what's that acronym you just threw out there? But asking for help is there. And you know what? It's phenomenal practice. It will not serve you wrong. If you constantly stay curious and you constantly are not afraid to ask for help, it will serve you. So as we're building our resume, what are we doing? Building some good habits and building practice. All right, so while we're doing that, while we're looking for those transferable skills, while we're trying to build on the foundational stuff that we've spent a lot of time doing and knowing ourselves and looking for a good fit, we're also going to be driving at that objective. Now, I mentioned ATS before. So I've worked with a lot of recruiters and other hiring managers, and one of the things that most people won't tell you is that as an industry, we really stink at job descriptions. So we have a tendency to throw job descriptions out there that are super, super broad, because we'd love to get somebody that can wear all of those hats. Because what are we doing when we're hiring for a role? We're trying to solve a problem. So as you are looking at those job descriptions, and as you're considering, hey, I'm going to try to get this past ATS, well, we've taken care of keywords, okay? But tell me what the difference is between bachelor's degree and pursuing bachelor's degree. So what's the difference between certification and working on my certification? So for somebody that's changing careers, reskilling, or trying to change jobs. So as a hiring manager, I am gonna be kind of okay with the fact that you're out there and you're doing something. You know, again, somebody mentioned it before, thinking about it as a journey. How are you going from here to here to here to here? I'm most interested in your decision points and what you did to kind of get there. It's like, oh, hey, you're going off your SysIP? Why? Gives me some good stuff to talk to you about in the interview. Gets you past the ATS, but be thinking about those. I'm pursuing this, I'm studying this, I'm going after this. Some of those things, again, jump out to me. I found some great projects that I didn't know about, you know, with the K7 stuff. I would never have heard of them unless I saw it on somebody's resume. Get it on there. Hey, it's interesting. Maybe it stands out. So that education and training, there is a ton of education and training. SANS has got some phenomenal stuff. There are so many free resources out there, so many low-cost resources out there that it's almost dizzying. But you've already started kind of narrowing down, hey, I think this might be a good fit. I kind of like this organization and how they work and their culture. This is what they're looking for in the job description. Let me dive in and see what those things are, and maybe I'll go in that direction and see how it fits. Doing the same kind of reflection. Make sense? So get involved. Community groups, volunteers, there's lots of opportunity. Just one thing about volunteering, be honest about your skill set. You know, hey, you know what? I'm happy to come and learn and help. I don't know a whole lot about this, or hey, I've done this and I'm perfectly comfortable doing something else, but be honest. And stay current. I don't think we talked a lot about this. One of the things I always ask folks, and one of the things I look for on resume is what your, and this is probably more for people that have been actively in roles. It's like if the last new technology you learned was firewalls, okay? That for me is gonna be like well, what did you do after that? You know, so stay current. Stay on top of some things. InfoSec Sherpa has like a great breakdown. There are lots of really good resources to find out what's going on in the news, okay? This is gonna help you not only as you're building your resume, but when you get to the interview phase. Again, the idea is resume should be preparing you for this. So now, okay, you should be almost all ready for that next step. You've already done your research on the company, who they are, what they do, what their solutions are, right? So if they're using products and using solutions, I hope you've gone out and looked at demos. If you're applying at a vendor, I'll tell you, and there's a demo online, I always look to see if you've created an account and you've used it. So it also gives you, what else? Experience. No, oh, we expect somebody to be able to use Splunk. Well, you can go out and play with Splunk. You know, have I used it in work? No, but I've dug into it. I like this, wasn't fond of that. What do you guys use Splunk for? You know, again, so And you can, again, be credible on your resume by saying, it's like, I'm proficient in these things, familiar with, still some good stuff, and again, still gets through the ATS. Questions? All right. So what's our homework so far? Elevator pitch. But before that, what do we got to do? Reflect. Reflect on ourselves. Elevator pitch. Look at your resume and see if the elevator pitch lines up. If it looks like two different people between your elevator pitch and your resume, that's where you start. Bring that stuff up top. Bless you. Bring that stuff up top. Okay? And I think that'll probably change the construct of your resume. All right, so a couple of highlights. I'm gonna just burn every interview that I'm gonna do for the rest of my life here, and I'm gonna tell you my gotcha question. And I don't believe in gotcha interviews, but the question that I always end with is, as a social engineer, one of the things that I always look at my teams for is when you walk into somebody's office or you get on Zoom with somebody, word backgrounds sometimes mess this up, but when you walk into somebody's office, what do you notice? If you walk into your employer, your boss, your manager, colleagues' office, and they've got books on the table, check out those books. Find out what they're reading. You get to walk into the CEO's office, look at the books on their shelf. It'll give you an insight into their mindset. Be using that skill that you have of gathering intelligence and processing it to start gaming the system, to start hacking a little bit within there. And when you walk into an office, a lot of times people will have what? They'll have a sign up, they'll have an image, they'll have a saying, they'll have something that's meant to do what? Convey to you who they want you to think or know about them. What is the most important thing for me to know about you? Okay, so the interview question I always ask is, if I was to do that and walk into your space, or connect with you on Zoom, what does your sign say? What's your image? What's the most important thing for me to know about you? Okay, that should certainly be in your elevator pitch. Should certainly be in your resume. Are you passionate? Are you driven? Do you have a lot of energy for what you're doing? It should all be there. That's going to make a difference. And that changes it from a document that's just a list of random job titles and experiences. Okay? We're going to take that, okay, and back that up with some metrics, some numbers. Okay, that's going to be a little bit of a harder bit. But when you say, it's like, hey, I'm passionate about what? Give me something. Anybody? Hugs. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Oh, man, hugs. HR is going to get in trouble with hugs. So, I'm passionate about people. Okay? Passionate about people. Phenomenal. Give me a way that you can demonstrate you're passionate about people. What's something that you've done? Mentored. Volunteered. Outstanding. Sorry? Empowered. There you go. Yeah. So we highlight that. Okay, I'm going to tie into most important thing, passionate about people. So change that. Mentored and empowered disenfranchised youth. Okay? Now you've got a skill. Does that line up with what you're doing? Maybe, maybe not. You probably do it all the time. Are you there for your coworkers? Now, it's even better if you can back it up with some numbers and some metrics. So, created a mentorship program for disadvantaged youth that served 20 students over 6 months. That's pretty much perfect. So you just got to do the same kind of thing. So build on those foundations. Build on the things that make you thrive, that make you who you are. Don't try to step out of that box and be somebody you're not. It doesn't work out well. You will eventually do what? Burn out. We've already got a burnout problem. It's terrible. No one thrives in that kind of environment. You'll be miserable, okay? So build on those foundations. Know who you are and do the work. So it is a lot of work. So you're committing to constantly learning. Threat landscape changes constantly. Solutions change constantly. So in a weekend, things change dramatically. It's honestly one of the things I love about the industry. So, but you got to do the work. You got to commit to doing the work. This is not to say you sacrifice everything else in your life. Especially, those of you that are reskilling, changing careers, who can afford to say, I'm going to take 6 months off and just knock out certifications? It'd be great to do that, but what reality is nobody can do that. But you do the work, figure it out, how to fit it into your life in a reasonable way, but do it in a way that takes care of the things that are most important for you, okay? Again, building a practice that you can continue on for the rest of your career. All in the resume. Relevant experience up top, your network and connect, okay? Through participation, member of. So, worked with, et cetera. And then use those connections and then start building towards those goals. Now, you may not know exactly the role that you like. I look for opportunities where I can get in and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but don't feel like, hey, when I got in and I started in red team and I found out I really don't like red team and I really am much more of a blue team person. Be okay to jump careers, jump roles. Questions? All right. So we're going to have some time to do some work. What I'm going to ask you to do, again, is we'll try to get to as many folks as we can, but we've got a networking function, which oddly enough is a tremendous opportunity to work on your social engineering skills, meet people, build your network, deliver your elevator pitch, tune it. Hey, does this sound like me? Okay. So, but I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things before we leave. So, curiosity is unbelievably key to what we do in any role that you're going to take, whether that's GRC, whether that's blue team, red team, purple team, forensics, even the stuff that's associated and around information security. Be curious, be passionate. Don't be afraid to be passionate. Okay, don't be afraid, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. Okay, remember, everything that you're seeing and working with was built, for the most part, in the last 50 years. Okay, so be passionate and don't be afraid to be out there and be a little bit of a goofball about it. And this is important, and I didn't hammer it earlier. Don't apologize as you walk in and say, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is. Be okay with that. Don't count yourself out. Looking at some of those job descriptions, again, remember what I said, exceptionally broad. You see something, they're looking for a CISSP. You know what? If the opportunity looks right, go for it. Worst that they're going to say is nothing. Not even no, you may not hear back from them. That kind of sucks, and that's not acceptable for those of you that are hiring managers. People should be following up. And what do you do if somebody doesn't follow up with you? Follow up with them. So if you get an interview, you shoot your resume out and you get the email, hey, what can I do better for next time? There are going to be people that are going to not have time for you. That's probably a pretty good indicator of somewhere you might not want to work. Okay? People that really are committed are going to give you feedback. Hey, you know what, next time, maybe have this, or hey, try to approach this, etc. Look for that, ask for that feedback, commit to them, okay? So be honest. It's easy, and I remember years and years and years ago, resume stuff, it was just like, oh, pad your resume. Everybody knows they're all BS. Well, part of what I look for in that is this going to be a good fit for you, not only the day that you start, but that career path. Can I help you get to where you want to go? When we have one-on-ones, not all the time, my team will tell you, because it's a little bit of aspirational, but when we have one-on-ones, our one-on-ones are focused on your career building and building you in the direction you want to go. I know that realistically, I'm not going to have you for the rest of your life, you know? So be honest. Hey, you know, I really want to get involved in this. I don't know where my skill level is at, or I really know that I need to work on this, and this is part of why I want to work with you, okay? One of the other cool things there is being honest is if you go out and you find a company that you go, hey, that role didn't sound quite like a good fit, there's something, just send us your resume anyway. Tell us what role would be good for you. More and more and more companies are starting to do this where you get on their radar because you like their organization. You may not fit, but don't exclude yourself. Be honest, okay? But don't be mean to yourself. Don't shut yourself down. Again, go back to what? You belong. Your experience matters. Okay? Diverse teams, in my mind, one of the reasons we build diverse teams is not just because it looks good on our corporate web pages. So one of the reasons we build diverse teams is because threat actors are building diverse teams. Diverse teams come up with better solutions. Diverse teams come up with interesting ways to solve problems that we've never seen before. If we all have the same mindset and the same background and the same training, what have we probably created for ourselves? A gap or a bias, a blind spot. What do threat actors excel in? Exploiting blind spots. Yeah, if I know everybody on your team was an accountant before they came to work for your team, I'm going to find a hole. So I want people that think differently. So believe in yourself. And again, I feel bad because it is a horrible process, okay? Build that community, believe in each other, believe in yourself, keep trying. So there's a role out there somewhere for you, okay? It's not because you suck. It's just the process doesn't work really, really well. And sometimes it's hard to find the right fit. And don't give up. So it's worth it. I've met and had the pleasure of working with some of the most amazing human beings and gotten supported by people in so many different ways. And the work that we do really matters. It really matters. So I've been doing this long enough that I've seen companies close where I've had to collect laptops back from people because the business failed. And when that's a 60, 70 person company that's been 3 generations and it's died because somebody didn't do a backup, that's heartbreaking. We do good work. We protect important things. It's a great career and it's a good way to make money, but most importantly, it's like, hey, I believe in the mission. So, and it's a great place to bring people that don't have traditional backgrounds. Still one of the few careers that you can be at the top of your field without formal education, just by putting the time in, by putting the energy in, by putting the passion in. So I love that about it. I hope that doesn't change. So don't give up. And that's it.